All right, chapter 2 of The Great Gatsby. So here we are. We see this symbol that you're supposed to notice, and that's Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. This is the sign that's right at the end of the Valley of Ashes. This is the Valley of Ashes right here. Notice the color, right? Go back, look at your color symbolism chart and see what gray symbolizes. So we have Nick and Tom, and they are getting off the train because they were going into town together. But first they were stopping off to get Tom's girlfriend. So, chapter 2. We're getting off. I want you to meet my girl. So they get off. They are walking into George B. Wilson's Repairs. So this is George's place. It's a repair shop. Hello, Wilson. Old man, how's business? I can't complain. When are you going to sell me that car? Next week. I got my man working on it now. Works pretty slow, don't he? No, he doesn't. And if you feel that way about it, maybe I better sell it somewhere else after all. I don't mean that. I just meant... And then here comes the girlfriend. Get some chairs, why don't you, so somebody can sit down. Oh, sure. I want to see you. Get on the next train. All right. I'll meet you by the newsstand on the lower level. All right. So, 34, 35. You're supposed to notice a color. We talked about that. What is overlooking the Valley of Ashes? What's overlooking it? Right here we go. There it is. What might that symbolize, guys? What's it looking at? What does the Valley of Ashes symbolize? What happens in the Valley of Ashes? What's happened already that you just witnessed between Tom and Myrtle? Contrast Daisy with Myrtle in the margin on this page, right? What could the dress represent? Would the color of her dress represent anything? Any ideas on that? Okay, so they're getting ready to have a little rendezvous. They're going to sneak out of here. George has no idea. Terrible place, isn't it? Awful. It does her good to get away. Doesn't her husband object? Wilson? He thinks she goes to see her sister in New York. He's so dumb he doesn't know he's alive. Like, here's her dress. She's changed her dress. Now she's wearing brown. Does that symbolize something as she's going into town? So Tom Buchanan and his girl went up together to New York. Or not quite together, for Miss Wilson sat discreetly in another car. And here they are. They're getting off the train. And we've got Nick and Tom meeting Myrtle as she gets off the train in her brown dress. And she purchases this. She purchases the Town Toddler. Have you ever heard of the Enquirer or the National Enquirer? What kind of stories are in the National Enquirer, if you were to pick that up on the newsstand? It's one of those hokey magazines that just has like fake stories in it. And here she is. She's getting the Town Toddler. She's going to take it at its word because she's just that dim, right? They're going to walk through town. And as they're walking through town, they get this car. And they're driving along, and she leans out the window. She says, I want to get one of those dogs. They're nice to have a dog. What kind are they? All kinds. What kind do you want, lady? I'd like to get one of those police dogs. I don't suppose you've got that kind. That's no police dog. No, it's not exactly a police dog. It's more of an Airedale. Look at that coat. Some coat. That's a dog that'll never bother you with a catching a cold. I think it's cute. How much is it? That dog? That dog will cost you $10. Is it a boy or a girl? That dog's a boy. It's a bitch. Here's your money. Go now and buy 10 more dogs with it. And he buys the dog. They get it. They're driving off. Now, I want you to think about this. Myrtle just purchased this dog. She going to take it home to her husband at the mechanic shop? Probably not. Who's going to take care of this dog? She just wanted it because she thought it was cute. So you're going to have to explain that probably. So they're still going to drive along. Nick's not feeling so comfortable. He says, hold on, I have to leave you here. No, you don't. Myrtle will be hurt if you don't come up to the apartment, won't you, Myrtle? Come on, I'll telephone my sister, Catherine. She's said to be very beautiful by people who ought to know. Well, I'd like to, but... And then he's reflecting. Nick says, I've been drunk just twice in my life, and the second time was that afternoon. I'm going to have the McKees come up, and of course I've got to call my sister too. So before you turn the page, go ahead, and at the bottom of page 40, your instructions tell you to think about the magazine that Myrtle purchased and the dog situation, and what does this say about her? How does this indirectly characterize her? Now they are at the apartment, and you see that Myrtle has had yet another costume change. So take a look at her costume, her dress, and her attitude changes as well. So I want you to think about that as we read through this. And when we get to page 44, I want you to note how her attitude changes and what her costume change could symbolize, okay? All right, so here they all are partying. We've got Myrtle sitting on Tom. We have Nick. And we have some other characters here who we're about to meet. This right here is Catherine, Myrtle's sister. So, Catherine, is this your place? Ha, my place. No, I live in a hotel with a girlfriend. My place. And what line of work are you in, Mr. McKee? I'm in the artistic game. So this is Mr. McKee. One of mine, pointing to this photograph. So you're a photographer. I've often wondered how he's photographed me 127 times since we got married. You don't say. Well, that's my dear. Most of these fellows would cheat you every time. Mrs. Wilson had changed her costume some time before, and with the influence of the new dress, her personality had also undergone a change. All they think of is money. The intense vitality that had been so remarkable in the garage was converted into impressive halter. I had a woman up here last week to look at my feet, and when she gave me the bill, you'd have thought she'd had my appendix cut out. What was the name of that woman? Mrs. Earnhardt. She goes around looking at people's feet in their own homes. And she takes a drink, and Tom's just kind of looking at her. I like your dress. That's Mrs. McKee. It's just a crazy old thing. I slip it on sometimes when I don't care what I look like. Oh, but it looks wonderful on you, if you know what I mean. If Chester could only get you in that pose, I think he could make something of it. And here's Chester McKee, and he's, framing her in the photograph like he's gonna do a show for her. I should change the light. I wouldn't think of changing the light. You McKees have something to drink. Get some more ice and mineral water, Myrtle, before everybody goes to sleep. I told that boy about the ice. These people, you have to keep after them all the time. Having thus despaired at the shiftlessness of the lower orders, Myrtle laughed pointlessly. Then she flounced over to the dog, kissed it with ecstasy, and swept into the kitchen, implying that a dozen chefs awaited her orders there. Do you live down on Long Island, too? I live at West Egg. Really, I was at a party there about a month ago at a man named Gatsby's. Do you know him? I live next door to him. Well, they say he's a nephew or a cousin of Kaiser Williams. That's where all of his money comes from. Really? I'm scared of him. I'd hate to have him get anything on me. I'd like to do more work on Long Island if I could get entry. All I ask is that she give me a start. Ask Myrtle. You'll give McKee a letter of introduction to your husband, won't you, Myrtle, so he can do some studies on him? George B. Wilson at the gasoline pump or something like that. Neither of them can stand the person they're married to. Can't they? Can't stand them. So we have Catherine, which is Myrtle's sister, talking to Nick, telling Nick that Tom can't stand who he's married to, which is Daisy, and Myrtle can't stand who she's married to, which is George. And so they're going to have a whole conversation about that now. What I say is, why go on living with them if you can't stand them? If I was them, I'd get a divorce and marry each other right away. Doesn't she like Wilson either? The answer to this was unexpected. It came from Myrtle, who had overheard the question, and it was violent and obscene. You see, it's really his wife that's keeping them apart. She's Catholic, and they don't believe in divorce. Here's Nick thinking, Daisy is not Catholic, and I was a little shocked at the elaborateness of the lie. When they get married, they're going to the West to live for a while until it blows over. It'd be more discreet to go to Europe. Oh, do you like Europe? I just got back from Monte Carlo. Really? Just last year, I went over there with another girl. We went by the way of Marseille. We had over $1,200 when we started, but we got gypped out of it in 2 days in the private rooms. We had an awful time getting back, I can tell you. God, how I hated that town. So they go on with their day. Notice the color. Notice everything we have going on here. We have Myrtle and Tom having some sort of a conversation over here. We're not really sure what that's about yet. Although Catherine comments that Tom and Myrtle can't stand one another, how does a reader know that it isn't true? Answer that on 46. So it says that, how do we know that that isn't quite true? Look at these pages. As you look at these pictures and you listen to what's on here, I want you to think about what is happening to Nick on these pages. And I want you to write it off here on the side, like down here or up here. What is happening to him? He's in their house. They're having this weird party with all these people there. The dog. We've got Mr. McKee. We've got Myrtle. We've got these newspapers. We have Catherine. Looks like a drink that's spilled. What is happening here? I wanted to get out and walk eastward towards the park through the soft twilight, but each time I tried to go, I became entangled in some wild, strident argument which pulled me back as if with ropes into my chair. What is happening on this page? Yet high over the city, our line of yellow windows must have contributed their share of human secrecy to the casual watcher in the darkening streets. And I was him, too, looking up and wondering. I was within and without, simultaneously enchanted and repelled by the inexhaustible variety of life. Sometime towards midnight, Tom Buchanan and Mrs. Wilson stood face to face, discussing in impassioned voices whether Mrs. Wilson had any right to mention Daisy's name. Daisy, 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 I'll say it whenever I want to. Daisy, Day... And then smack. There goes Tom's true self. Everybody's got to swarm around her now because she's got her bloody nose. He's marching off. And what you need to do is describe what do you think happened and why on page 51. And continue. Everybody's still taking care of her. Party's still going on. Town Toddler, we've got the blood here. Everyone's getting ready to leave now. They're all walking out. We have Nick and McKee leaving together. They're going down the elevator. They must have spent some time talking, hanging out. What's he feeling like here? Remember, what did he tell us back here, guys? Right when they got to this place, when he went on this journey with them, he tells us, I've been drunk just twice in my life, and the second time was that afternoon. So, along with all of this craziness that's happening, he's also drunk. And so that's probably affecting things in the situation and how he feels, which is probably why he looks like this.